Michael Jai White was born on November 10, 1967 in Brooklyn, New York. Growing up in the tough neighborhoods of Brooklyn during the 70s and 80s, Michael's childhood wasn't exactly wrapped in comfort. The streets were rough and opportunities didn't come easy. But even as a kid, Michael had something that set him apart: a fierce determination not to be defined by his environment. That fire, that refusal to be another statistic, would shape everything he became. As a teenager, Michael discovered martial arts, and it was love at first punch. He started training in Shotokan karate at just 7 years old, but as he got older, his thirst for knowledge in martial arts became insatiable. By his teenage years, he was diving deep into various disciplines: Taekwondo, Kyokushin, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, Kabuto, and more. He wasn't just playing around, he was on a mission. Martial arts didn't just teach him how to fight, it taught him discipline, focus, and self-respect, all of which were scarce in his neighborhood. But Michael wasn't just a fighter, he was a thinker too. He excelled in school and was particularly drawn to psychology and education. He even went on to become a teacher working with emotionally disturbed children. Teaching gave him a deeper understanding of the human mind and resilience. This phase of his life is often overlooked, but it played a critical role in shaping the man who would one day bring complex characters to life on screen. Michael Jai White's story begins not in Hollywood or a glittering martial arts arena, but in the rugged streets of Brooklyn, New York, where he was born on November 10, 1967. Brooklyn in the late 60s and 70s was a place of stark contrasts. Vibrant cultures blended with economic struggles. Music filled the air, yet danger lurked around every corner. Michael grew up in an environment where survival was as much a daily task as going to school. Raised by a strong, hard-working single mother, he learned early on that life wasn't going to hand him anything. Everything had to be earned. His neighborhood was not the kind of place that bred dreams. It was the kind that crushed them if you weren't vigilant. Yet in young Michael burned a spirit that refused to settle for mediocrity. Even as a boy, he wasn't content with just getting by. He watched the world around him, the gangs, the fights, the constant sense of impending trouble, and made a quiet vow to himself: his story would not end on those streets. Despite his growing prowess in martial arts, Michael Jai White's path didn't immediately lead to the big screen. Before the fame, before the flashing cameras, there was the classroom. In his early adulthood, Michael became a dedicated teacher, working specifically with children who struggled with emotional and behavioral challenges. Every day he walked into classrooms filled with kids society had often labeled as difficult or lost causes. But Michael didn't see them that way. He saw them as reflections of his own younger self, kids shaped by harsh environments, craving structure, guidance, and most importantly, someone who believed in them. Teaching wasn't just a job to Michael, it was a mission. He brought the discipline of martial arts into his classroom, not in the form of combat, but in the form of respect, patience, and self-control. The same principles that had kept him safe and centered growing up were now tools he handed to these children. In many ways, standing before a classroom was his first real stage, learning how to command attention, how to read a room, how to project authority without instilling fear. These skills, though rooted in education, unknowingly prepared him for the world of acting. The classroom gave Michael a deeper understanding of human behavior, pain, and resilience, themes he would later embody in countless roles. As the years passed, that pull toward storytelling, performance, and cinema began to stir deeper within Michael. Teaching had given him an understanding of human complexity. Martial arts had given him discipline and control, but there was still an artistic voice inside him waiting to be unleashed. So he took a leap, diving headfirst into acting classes, studying theater, and learning the craft of performance with the same intensity he had once devoted to mastering martial arts. What stood out to his coaches and peers was not just his imposing physicality, but his emotional depth. Here was a man who could throw a punch with devastating power, yet also convey vulnerability, pain, and humanity through his eyes alone. Michael started with small television roles, guest appearances on popular shows, and parts that rarely matched his full potential. But every small part was a stepping stone, sharpening his skills and proving his versatility. Then came his big break. Spawn 1997, a landmark moment, not just for Michael, but for cinema. He became the first African-American to play a major comic book superhero on screen, starring as Al Simmons, the soldier-turned-hellspawn antihero. The role was physically demanding, requiring grueling hours in prosthetics and intense action sequences, but Michael embodied it with a raw energy that made audiences take notice. Spawn wasn't just a milestone in his career, it was a cultural statement, a black man leading a superhero film years before diversity became a Hollywood talking point. Though Spawn had put Michael Jai White on the map, he wasn't content to stay boxed into the action hero stereotype. He knew he had more to offer than just muscles and martial arts. He had range, charisma, and a deep love for storytelling. The late 90s and early 2000s saw Michael taking a variety of roles from gritty action flicks to dramatic television appearances. He honed his craft with every role, but deep down he was searching for a character that could showcase not just his fighting skills, but his sharp comedic timing and cultural insight. That opportunity came in 2009 when Michael not only starred in, but co-wrote and co-produced Black Dynamite, a brilliant satire of 1970s blaxploitation films. Black Dynamite wasn't just a parody, it was a love letter to a genre that had both empowered and stereotyped black actors. Michael's portrayal of the ultra-smooth kung fu fighting mustachioed vigilante was both hilarious and badass. His performance was a masterclass in balancing absurd comedy with legitimate martial arts prowess. The film became an instant cult classic, spawning an animated series and earning Michael a whole new generation of fans who appreciated his versatility. It was proof that he wasn't just a fighter who could act, he was an artist who could create. After Black Dynamite, Michael Jai White stood as a man who had conquered both action and comedy, but his journey was far from over. He continued to appear in a string of action films, lending his imposing presence and martial arts expertise to movies like Blood and Bone, Falcon Rising, and Never Back Down, No Surrender. These films kept his fan base satisfied, especially martial arts enthusiasts. But beneath the surface, Michael yearned to tell deeper, more personal stories. His life had been a tapestry of struggle, survival, and self-discovery, and he wanted his art to reflect that complexity. Outside the camera's gaze, Michael also cultivated a rich personal life. He married actress Jillian Ileana Waters, and their partnership became one of mutual respect, love, and support, a far cry from the lonely boy navigating the tough streets of Brooklyn decades earlier. He often spoke about the importance of family discipline and integrity values that he not only preached but lived. Social media also allowed fans a glimpse into his life off-screen, the dedicated husband, the martial artist who still trained rigorously, and the thinker who often reflected on social issues and personal growth. Then came Trouble Man, a project that was perhaps the closest to Michael's heart. Written, directed, and starring himself, Trouble Man is a gritty, introspective action drama that delves into the mind of a man who has seen too much pain and carries it like a shadow. It's a story not just of fists and gunfire, but of redemption, inner demons, and the scars both visible and hidden that men carry through life. Michael poured his soul into this film, creating a character layered with regret, resilience, and raw emotion. For him, Trouble Man wasn't just another action flick, it was a reflection of the battles we all fight within ourselves. Today, Michael Jai White stands not just as an actor, but as a symbol of what it means to carve your own path in an industry and a world that wasn't always designed to welcome someone like him. His legacy is one of perseverance, discipline, and an unyielding commitment to authenticity. In Hollywood, a place often criticized for typecasting black actors, Michael refused to be just another face in the action genre. He crafted characters with depth, often infusing them with his own life lessons from the streets of Brooklyn to the philosophy of the dojo. Moreover, Michael has become a cultural touchstone for black martial artists and actors who see in him a blueprint for success that doesn't require compromising one's identity. He mentors younger talents, speaks openly about his struggles and triumphs, and champions the importance of representation in film and media. For many fans, especially young black boys, who rarely saw someone like them in a superhero suit or leading an action film, Michael Jai White became proof that they too could be the hero of their own story. Even beyond the screen, Michael's presence resonates. His social media platforms are filled with motivational messages, training videos, and reflections on personal growth. He continues to practice martial arts, not just for the physical benefits, but for the mental discipline. It provides a discipline he applies to every aspect of his life. Through his films, his teachings, and his example, Michael Jai White leaves behind not just a filmography, but a legacy of empowerment, resilience, and self-made strength. Michael Jai White's life is a testament to grit, discipline, and authenticity. Born in the tough streets of Brooklyn, he transformed his life through martial arts education and a relentless pursuit of his passions. From a teacher guiding troubled kids to a Hollywood star making history as the first black superhero in Spawn, Michael shattered barriers with every move. His work in Dynamite showcased his sharp wit and cultural commentary, while Trouble Man revealed his soul, a personal story of pain, redemption, and strength. Off-screen, Michael remains a mentor, a family man, and a martial artist dedicated to personal growth. His legacy isn't just in films, but in the lives he's inspired, proving that with discipline and heart, anyone can become the hero of their own story.